So I get 4, and Ruby gets 4. That's 8. But
very good, Cheney.
My mom, my dad, Nate. That's 3. I'm not gonna say Jay Liz because she probably won't even go. She don't deserve one anyways.
Then we're down to what, Cheney?
Huh?
We're down to what? How many left?
Don't
look off screen.
5.
Oh, 5, yeah.
Did she get that wrong?
No,
she's talking about mine. Yeah.
I get 4 and he gets 4.
So then we have 5
know
left.
Mine will be used, so I can't say they're gonna be used or not because I think my mom's just gonna do a package deal.
Yeah, she better pay for yours. So then we have 5 left. So then you can probably get one. You know, we can figure something out.
Seth and Marissa, Aubin and Shaylin. And
Aubin and Shaylin can pay for the tickets.
I'm not going unless Aubin also goes for free.
All right, now you're asking for way too much.
That is brotherhood.
Here, if we can't get you complimentary tickets, we can go on a day that we're off, and anytime we're with you, you get discounted foods and merchandise and stuff like that.
Discounted.
Yeah.
And look, and so we'll even help out a little bit. You know, I go in one car, Ruby goes in the other, and that's free parking. If I show my badge, you get free parking.
Now you're in.
Now we are
you want to pay that $3 charge? I'm in.
That $10-$20 for parking is steep, man. I'm down.
It's gross.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
You're recording, so you know.
There's the cold open. We're back now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of AfroLatinos. This is your co-host, Alvin.
And your co-host, Chandler.
And today we have a very special returning guest, our good friend, Seth Sponhouse, our first ever guest. Our first ever guest.
Heck
and
yeah.
Now returning for his second show of this podcast, I believe.
Yeah.
Third show overall, although you did make a guest appearance with Kara, which was an AfroLatinos episode. So we'll give that. I forgot. And you were the first guests on AfroLatinos and
Amigos, yeah.
Which exists.
Oh, geez.
That was the one and only. Did I kill that show?
No, we actually did like 30 episodes.
Oh, no.
We did like 30 episodes. It just got to be.
You have that many Amigos?
No. That's why we stopped.
No.
Because it was a lot to schedule 4 shows in 1 week, and on top of that, you know, we have not that many friends, so we were just
have at least 8 amigos, and we just repeated, you know. Yes,
we did 20 episodes of AfroLatinos and Amigos.
Wow.
So, and I actually think there's 21 because there's a missing episode that never got posted, and I don't know what happened to it, so it will never see the light of day. But
it wasn't mine, was it?
No. I did not like the episode anyway. I wasn't happy with it, so I'm glad it disappeared. It wasn't on purpose, but I'm not upset about it. Anyway, we have brought our good friend Seth back to talk about Lin-Manuel Miranda's movie, In the Heights. So, Seth, if this is the first time people have ever seen you, why don't you tell the people a little bit about who you are, where you come from, what you do, and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Well, my name is Seth Sponhouse. I'm happy to be here again, gentlemen. I was born on a cold, rainy Tuesday. I don't know. I'm just joking. No, I'm the executive director of the Community Theater League in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. I've had the pleasure of working with Chandler twice, 2 shows.
Yes.
And then Aubin, I directed in West Side Story the second time we produced it. And Cheney was also in that show somewhere.
Oh, that's nice. I'm just getting disrespected every sentence that you say.
I'm sorry, Cheney. So I've had the pleasure of being the executive director here at CTL for the last 3 seasons. And before that, I was our educational coordinator. Yeah, that's me.
That's what's up.
Sure.
Well, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. So, so much moving happening on the screen. I wish we could, before we click the button, like determine where every box is going to go, so you don't have to click and drag. You know,
I got
you. It's so shocking sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm not where I used to be.
I feel like I should be like looking up like this.
All right.
Yes, and we should be looking down on you, but you're our friend, so we would never look down on you.
Thank you.
We got to respect our elders. You know. I got your back, bro. I got you.
I wore the flamingo shirt for you and everything.
For me,
but it's fine. I don't know. I felt like it was an Afro. Like I should dress up for today.
I get it.
New shirt.
Should have been a cactus shirt.
As I'm wearing a Dragon Ball Z shirt.
Yeah, Ching, I'm glad you dressed up for the occasion. It's fine.
Now I feel under. I gotta go into the closet.
No, you're looking great.
Yeah, I'll be back.
The chain on the t-shirt's a good look.
The what?
The chain on the t-shirt's a good look.
Appreciate that.
Chain. I feel like I just bullied Cheney off.
He's either gonna go change his shirt, get a new shirt, or grab a chain and put it on real quick. So
Wally's gone. He's a great kid.
That is hilarious. Yeah, we love him.
When he comes back, I will never say that, but
okay. He probably can't hear you anyway. Oh,
finally. Yes. That's what it's about.
You gotta change the name too. You can't just be Chandler.
Yeah, just change that real quick to Ruby.
And you muted. She's no idea.
I don't even know how to do this.
There you go.
There she is.
I was talking the whole time.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how to change it.
Ruby, have you been on camera for an AfroLatinos yet?
No, I think one maybe. We
not
did.
Not for Latinos, but for you think you know she's been.
Oh yeah.
They're all the same to me.
But they're very different.
What a true fan.
I can't tell. I don't know.
All three shows are very different.
Hey, I have my bumper sticker on my car with pride. There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Now don't tell him.
Where is he? Did he just disappear?
He went to go change his shirt.
Well, Ruby, while you're here, let's get your opinions on In the Heights before you are silent off stage when changing. What are your opinions, your honest opinions over the movie? A lot of people were very excited. I was one of those people that were very excited about the show. Love the music. Never seen an on-stage production of it, but I heard the music several times. What is your opinions of the show?
Well, I was also very excited, and I thought it was good, but I also think there wasn't as many Afro-Latinos because they are supposed to be Dominican, a lot of them, and a lot of Dominicans were played by Puerto Ricans, so that kind of makes a difference, But I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. So.
Now, did you notice that before the scuttlebutt? Because there is a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Backlash about the movie regarding colorism and that concept, and we'll get into that a little bit later too. But is that something that you noticed when through your first watch through, or is that something that you heard about and was like, oh yeah, that's a good point?
No, when I pointed it out as soon as I remembered that Anthony Ramos is Puerto Rican and not Dominican, and he was like repping for Dominican Republic, and I was like, they could have got a Dominican actor, but
you just got some sense and realized his island is not the better one, and ours is. So I get it. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, but I did think it was. He didn't really. He's back now. So.
He's about to go put his wedding shirt on lock. He's gonna be in a suit.
He's like a full suit and tie.
He ran back. He'll be back again.
I shouldn't said it out loud.
No.
There are really not that many. I'm looking on IMDb at Dominican actors and actresses, and there actually are not that many Dominican actors that are famous. At least none that would be able to play Usnavi. So I mean, it might make sense in that case. Casting might have been a sincere issue. If they were looking for, someone who was of Dominican descent, that might have been.
I think that Lin already had an idea that he kind of wanted Anthony to play Usnavi. He did play Usnavi in the Kennedy Center, I think. And that's why he wanted him to play him in the movie. Because he saw him on stage playing Usnavi. He was like, I want that guy.
Interesting. Any other thoughts as Cheney is on his reprieve? What's your favorite moment in the movie? Favorite moment? Favorite song? One of the.
I like the 69G. I do like that one. I like the dancing in that one.
96.
96, sorry. Yes, 96. I like the dancing in
He's
that
never
one.
actually watched or listened to the song. They only say it.
Well, I see.
You like the?
Yeah,
you
but
like
I've seen the
opening
movie
scene in
once.
the train where they rap. Nothing. No, making
She really likes the one where they stand on the front of the stage and say 525,600
in the spotlight.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a moment.
Yeah, Jesse St. James is in there, or that's not.
Oh,
No, Jesse Martin.
Jesse
Come
Martin.
on.
Sorry, Jesse St. James.
James is
It's from Glee. All right, show's canceled.
Martin. Sorry, I knew it. I knew it as soon as I said it. I knew I was wrong. I did not feel confident if it was coming out either. It's just like.
Okay, I think he's ready.
Ready for us now?
Ready for your grand appearance?
Yeah, he's ready now.
96 G's is your favorite song?
Very nice. Thank you, Cheney.
Now, Cheney, just do me a favor. Do not eat at all while you're in that shirt.
Oh, I will not touch anything.
It's a little wrinkled.
It already is wrinkled from the.
Because this is the first time he put it on.
Yeah.
At least it fits well.
It does.
It does.
Nice feeling.
I put it on. I was like, well, I might as well find out if it fits or not.
Yeah, that's a good time to do it 3 days before the wedding. Yeah.
Before the wedding.
Buttons, that's good. You can put a tie on. Cheney, I have your tie, by the way, in my car. So
Gotcha. I'll just, I'll grab it Saturday.
When I pick you up Friday.
Saturday, yeah.
Friday, right? All right.
I think you should hold on to it. He'll lose it.
Yes, do that.
That means I'm not giving him the rings either because he's got to keep those safe too.
Oh God.
No, I see. I lost mine already.
Yeah,
so.
he did.
No, I'm kidding. Not about my ring, but I will make sure your rings are safe.
You actually lost yours?
He left it in his.
See, what happened was
in the costume.
I had a costume, for the shoot that I was doing, and every day I made sure to take it out, I put it on, take it out, put it on, take it out, put it on. And the last day we were all leaving, I was like, "Oh my God, thank God I got to do this." Everybody, I had to help move all the stuff to the truck and whatnot. And after we left, I was like, I left it in the thing and then went to New York. Never saw it again. This doesn't go here.
You take that off.
Ruby, you don't believe that, do you? Come on now.
What the heck else you gotta do with it?
We don't want to put you on blast, Tony. We're not gonna put your business on the street. Take the black clip off. What is wrong with you? Have you never
put it there?
She put it there.
Why?
Because
to pretend it's a tie there.
Oh. Suspension of disbelief. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm in a freaking thing of Shakespeare.
A freaking thing of Shakespeare.
A freaking thing of Shakespeare. A plate, dickhead.
Cut this out. Cut this out. And then,
this is all staying in the episode. Absolutely.
Oh God.
As it should.
All right. Back to the conversation. Now that Chandler, he's officially Chandler now. He's no longer Cheney. He's dressed up. Now that we're all back, let's get started with the conversation. Continue the conversation on In the Heights. Cheney, Seth, whoever wants to go first. What is your opinion of the movie? First opinions only before we get into the fun conversation of colorism and the like. What were your first impressions of the movie and how did it make you feel?
Go ahead, Cheney. Take it.
Appreciate it. So, I thought it was a cool little movie. It's the first time I ever heard anything from In the Heights. I know that that is the first time I've ever heard anything from In the Heights. I thought it was cool. I don't have it. I wasn't expecting anything. And I know it's no matter how good the movie is, there's always somebody who's gonna have something that they didn't like or some complaint about it. But I thought it was cool. I liked it. I did.
Did you have a favorite moment or song from the show?
Moment is when they were talking about the flags and that they were on the back thingy, and
I like that song.
I had to represent a Puerto Rican flag. Other than that, yeah.
Favorite song? Also that song?
That might be the favorite song. I didn't really. That's not a song that stuck out with me. Not yet, at least. Once I watch it for like second, third time, maybe.
Seth?
Yeah, I like when they kid rap though in the pool. Yeah, that was dope.
Shane, make sure you ask Ruby what that song's called.
96G.
Definitely knows the answer. Most definitely knows the answer.
Why? It doesn't matter. Go ahead, Seth. Your thoughts?
I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
So I saw it closing week on Broadway.
Wow.
And that was the only time I didn't really like. I think I talked last time when you asked me about Hamilton that I said I liked it better than Hamilton.
Oh, I absolutely like it better than Hamilton.
Yeah.
Did you see Hamilton on stage? I don't remember from her.
No. I mean Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see it in New York or anything like that. I don't like 96,000. I think it's a boring song.
Not my favorite song either. So it was an interesting choice for them to have said that as their favorite. So
Yeah, right? Both of them.
It's not my favorite.
I like the dancing in that one.
I don't have a favorite.
My
is that,
favorite
is that the song that they were walking down the street and they were using like the graffiti stuff?
Yes.
Like the random cinematic. I'll say one thing for sure. I enjoyed the movie. I've always enjoyed the music, and so it was very exciting to see on the screen since I never got to see it on stage. But it had some very interesting and odd and random effects for seemingly zero reason. Like in 96,000, those things they were doing really didn't need to be done. It was just because it was a movie and they could.
Like the dancing on the side of the building.
Oh no. That took me so out of the whole scene. I was literally so confused. I'm like, what? What? They could have been standing on the rooftop and having that moment on the top of the roof, and it would have been equally as romantic and nonetheless not confusing as two human beings with no superpowers walking on the side of the building and dancing. Although the hilarious moment of the kid at the dining room table looking outside and mouth drop was hilarious, and I appreciated that. But it's like, I know it's a musical, so in a musical we suspend belief a lot.
Yeah.
But that might have been a stretch.
Yeah, no, I thought so, and this was having seen it on stage and remember this was like I graduated high school, so this was like my jam. Every car ride was In the Heights, like back and forth to college and like all through college. Like that's what I listened to, and that's I think why I enjoy it more than Hamilton, because I feel like the story is stronger than any kind of story in Hamilton. I don't think there is a real strong story plot line there. And what bothered me the most was it almost felt like a different show.
Well, they changed so much, and they took so much out, and
I mean, not to like jump right into the colorism, but I mean, there's a whole plot line in the stage show with Benny and Nina. That Nina's father doesn't like the relationship because of Benny's race.
Right.
And so Camilla, who is Nina's mother in the stage show, has a great song in the album. The fact that they cut her was just like
my sister
devastating to me.
My sister was very upset that they cut that song.
So upset that Camilla was cut. And I still haven't read like a really good reason as to why. Like, I think Camilla represents such a strong, like we get Abuela Claudia being like the strong mother, but yet Camilla is like an actual mother family. Right. Like, I love that we get the Rosarios as a really respectable working family in that neighborhood. I mean, we don't have an example of that now because now Kevin is a single father raising a daughter which is a completely different storyline than those two parents raising her. But I mean, Benny and Nina is such an interesting story in the stage show because they're not just, and I think Lin was quoted in an article just saying like they're all good, and they really are in the movie. Like in 96 or in the song that Cheney talked about with the flags and in the
Carnaval del Barrio, yeah,
they're talking about like them having sex, and like her father walks into the scene like 2 seconds before that, and like everyone's just cool with it. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very The changes, I get why they were made. Like, I love the addition of the whole Dreamer plot line because I think that's really relevant. And I think had Lin wrote the show 20 years later, I think he probably would have snuck that in there somewhere. And I like the fact that in last scene you don't see why am I blanking on the character's name? The cousin, the dreamer. The
younger cousin,
Sonny. That you don't see him in the last scene with the daughter. So you really don't know how that storyline ended. Which I think was smart to do. So no, I thought it was a really entertaining 2 hours. I love the music. I missed a lot of the songs. Paciencia y Fe is always going to be my favorite song.
Oh yeah,
always, hands down. I think it's a beautiful song.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I think on stage it's still, when I saw it live, it's still the best number I've ever seen performed ever. And I got to see her because she's the original cast member. Olga,
who played in the movie.
Yeah, she's the original.
I thought her voice was so perfect for that role, and I just could not tell if it was her or not.
And they did. So the trick when she's in the subway, and then like they like cut, and then she's in Cuba with like the sepia tones and the costumes. They do that on stage, and it's so cool. They like she's standing there 1 minute in the street, and everyone's walking by, and then like they basically turn around, and everyone on stage has a quick change, and they're all in like 1920s attire, and you're immediately back. Like you're in the street and the set hasn't changed, but you're immediately back with her in Cuba. And then you go with her through the different decades to get back up. So that's always going to be my favorite. And I think it was really clever how they made that kind of her exit song, her death. I thought that was clever. And that's what, like, I can't be mad at any of the changes because I kind of see why, except for Camilla. I'm still like team.
Well, what's so interesting to me about and we are jumping around a lot, but that would probably happen. What's so interesting to me is that idea of colorism and the dark skin, light skin argument is so still relevant. Just like the DACA storyline, that stuff is still happening in real life right now. Like some family, their sibling or their parents are not approving of their relationship because, and even in the Hispanic community, because one is dark skinned and one is light skinned. My grandfather, when he was in the Dominican Republic, dealt with the same thing. My grandfather is darker skinned, closer to my complexion. And then my grandmother was very, very light skinned. So there was an issue between their families when they were So it's not like this is an antiquated idea. It's still very recent. So that change to me, I think, hurts the story a lot and really changes so much of the integrity of the show. So it's interesting. I would love to hear why Lin decided that he wanted to make that change for the movie, or whomever. Did he direct also?
No, John Chu directed it.
Okay. That's the guy who directed Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what that conversation was and why they were okay with that change, because it doesn't make a lot of sense for the movie to me. But maybe there's something I'm missing.
Yeah,
maybe I don't. That one of the other storylines was just too important, or that maybe their story wasn't important enough. I don't know.
And that wasn't. I'm trying to think of like, that seems to be the biggest story in my mind, at least. The killing off of Camilla, and then the Benny and Nina not really having any tension, because you really like the scene when they're singing on the fire escape. You really didn't care. Right, because they were fine the whole movie. So I didn't care if they were like, you kind of assume that they were going to be okay because you didn't see them fight. Like I don't think the Powerless song, the fireworks song in the nightclub, I don't really think that hit like it's supposed to, because at that point that's the end of Act 1 on the stage show. So you're supposed to get all of this tension between Benny's supposed to be really angry at Nina because Nina's father just sold the company that he worked for and he couldn't get a job anywhere else. And now he's out of a job because of the girl that he likes. So you didn't get that at all because Benny kind of understood what Nina was like. Right. Nina was siding, or Benny was siding with Nina, which I understood, but then you lost that tension. Usnavi and Vanessa really weren't at odds with each other at all because they never really got together.
Yeah. Right there in the club.
You missed that tension altogether. We didn't get there's this whole real subplot of Sonny protecting the bodega with a baseball bat and looters and all of that, which I think is still relevant because we see that argument every time there's a protest that goes a little too far, or people show up at a protest and kind of get the protest blamed for violence. So I think there are parts of it that didn't hit and weren't as powerful as I think that they could have been. But again, like I loved like that we saw like Claudia now made all the food instead of Camilla. So we got to see Abuela's house and we got to see the community coming in there. And there were moments that I really liked and then moments that I just think
her death seemed an odd place. And I know that that's where it happens in the show.
No, they moved it. Oh, no. It is. No. You're right.
But in the movie, it came from you really saw, and I guess that it kind of explains the suddenness and why it hurt so much for the family.
Yeah.
But you don't really ever see any signs of her struggling. No. You don't ever see any signs of her sickness that to the audience says, oh, there's something really wrong with her. Because she goes, I think it was such an abrupt change. She's not feeling the greatest, but, she just cooked for the whole family. It's hot, whatever. She goes and lays down and just rests, and then she's thinking about her life. And then you come from that beautiful song, and I love the song and the story and everything that it showed. And then after it was over, she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt like we needed to see more as an audience to really connect to Abuela Claudia, because if you don't know the show and this is your first time seeing it, you don't know why she's so important to the family. Well, you don't get, other than those 2 or 3 scenes they're in, any type of she's the matriarch of this family. She is really what keeps them all together. She's this powerhouse. You don't get that.
Well, and that was one of the most and I get that they couldn't do all of the songs because it's a movie.
I mean, it's already 2.5 hours of a show. I mean,
true, and they didn't cut that many. The fact that they cut Nina's song, so the whole movie, we're basically being told Abuela Claudia is very important to us. She's very important to us. She's very important to us. And as an audience, we're just supposed to believe everyone that says that. And then there's a song that illustrates it, and like Nina goes through like it's not her grandmother, and she puts a star in the yearbook, and like she's kept every program that she's ever done, and like. That song just demonstrates how infused she was to the entire community. And then they just cut it and used it as underscoring. It just didn't really.
Because then
that was the point that you do it.
Everyone is sad and depressed, and in the beginning, the whole beginning of Carnaval de Barrio doesn't make sense because they never explained why she mattered so much. Yes, it's hot. And yes, she just died, and so everyone is miserable for those 2 reasons. But the whole argument that she starts out with as she starts that song is like, Abuela Claudia's gone, but her memory lives on forever. But we don't know why, and it doesn't explain it at all. So it's like really rushed and weird. It was just weird.
Yeah. Well, and the great to reinforce my point, Nina's song was so great because she starts very, very insulated with how Abuela Claudia like took care of her, and then as the song progresses, you see the whole community. Like she's able to talk about how everyone was impacted by her, and then the setup for the carnival makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, no, in the movie, it kind of just felt like the old lady down the street died, and now everyone's depressed because we didn't see anything else. There are some lyric changes that I also was like, why are we changing that and not that? Like Usnavi has a lyric about breadcrumbs in her hands, but we never got the scene before where she went out and fed the birds. So we don't get that. Like, I mean, there were a couple of things that I was like, Lin-Manuel is a very creative writer and rapper. Like you couldn't come up with another rhyme for hands. Like we couldn't do like, there's nothing else that we could have done there. So I don't know. Like I said, it's really enjoyable. Like everyone should see it because it's a good movie and to support John Chu, who's a diverse director, and Lin-Manuel Miranda, and the screenwriter who I forget her name, but I think it's one of her first, if not second or third movies. But she was the book writer for the musical. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was a completely diverse production staff. So.
Screenwriter Chiara Alegria Ude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she talks screen stage to screen changes. I don't know. I almost want to see. I almost would have preferred to see it as like they did with Hamilton. Let's stage the production on stage and record it like that and release that rather than the cinematic differences. I don't think that there was anything tremendous in the film that they did that said, okay, this makes sense to have it only as a movie instead of having done a stage production. Other than you can fit more people on a set doing the dancing, choreography, and singing.
Yeah.
Other than that and the random cinematic stuff that we talked about earlier with this walking on the building and the stuff with the graffiti while they were walking through 96,000, it just, I don't know. I don't know that there's really anything that convinced me it couldn't have been a recorded stage production.
I liked it for a couple of reasons, that it was a movie and not just a stage production. I thought the use of extras and the background actors, and it was the first movie I saw that took place in New York, where the city, like the streets, felt like New York, like people walking by, like it felt real. And two, like the dinner scene and like the inside of the bodega, I'm a white guy from central Pennsylvania. Those kind of dinner scenes that was on a stage show, you never are going to get that authenticity. Sure. And I think that was really great exposure and mainstream exposure. I mean, it was just a really nice look into something completely foreign to a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean foreign as in ethnicity, but foreign just like unfamiliar and uncommon. But should be common. Like those scenes should be just as mainstream as every 90s sitcom. Like those dinner table scenes should look just as familiar. So I that's why I liked it. I liked it more than just staging or filming the stage version, because the actors were, and I don't mean authentic because we can talk about colorism then, about Anthony and all of that. But I thought the set dressing and the scene design and all of that just really felt real. Like I loved the little details.
I can definitely appreciate that also. And I guess I see from both sides where the difference is. But, from the one point, you do get that kind of authentic, like this is really how people are living. I mean, obviously people aren't on stage. And so you do get to see the bodega. You do get to, because for a lot of people who don't live in the city, they don't know what a bodega is. We don't have corner stores like that in central Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And so, if you want to get that experience, you need to go there or else you have to watch it somehow. And I do think you're right. A movie, if you want to say, hey, this new movie came out, let's go watch it, that's much more digestible and approachable for a lot of people than, hey, this musical just came out, you want to go see a musical with me. I think that term musical turns a lot of people off to the idea. And so I can see how that might have been more approachable from a directorial standpoint, more accessible for the general public.
So I mean, I'm going to jump right into the colorism conversation.
Yeah.
And this is a question for both of you, more or less. One, overall, what watch did you see In the Heights in the movies, or did you watch it on HBO?
HBO.
Okay. So sitting there, Lynn's on record saying, like, I wrote In the Heights because there wasn't a musical that I could star in other than Bernardo and West Side Story. Like that quote is like, there was one role that I could play in my youth and that was it. So what was that like for you to sit there and see representation? And then we can talk about authentic representation versus not, because obviously that's come up and Lynn's kind of addressed it. But what was that like? Because it had to mean something.
Cheney, you want to go first?
No, you're good.
So this is a conversation that I literally just had this conversation with my assistant principal the other day. And it stems from those videos that we were talking about at the beginning. As we've talked about this, I think we talked about this with Kara. We talked a little bit about this on our first episode together. But in terms of representation, I think it's always important for people to see themselves in the things that they are partaking in. and representation matters, right? So when we only see Hispanics or African Americans portrayed as all of the negative things that we see them as in a lot of film, movie, TV, it's so great to show a story that is so authentic to the Latinx community, right? Because we have all of these struggles and all of these things that are happening that people who grow up in that area, people that grew up on the streets of New York, people that are immigrants, people who, have families that operate similarly, they see themselves as, that's my story on screen. It's me getting to live out that opportunity. And some of the discussion that I was having was just as you said, as Lynn says, there are no shows written for me, or there were the majority, especially of the golden age of Broadway, what made Broadway so popular. None of those shows were written specifically to have someone like me as the lead of that show. And so there are very few shows that showcase those stories. You get The Color Purple, you have Dreamgirls, you have, the new one, we got Tina Turner, we have some newer shows that are coming out that are showing and showcasing Black leads. But from older Broadway, especially, if we want to get a role, we have to find a director who's willing to take that chance and potentially upset someone, because you never know. People get upset about the stupidest things and about fictional characters being cast as a different race than, like Hallie or Haley, I'm not sure how you pronounce her first name, Bailey playing the Little Mermaid. It's upsetting people because, mermaids are real. And so because it really matters whether it's a white woman or a Black woman who plays them, and so you have to run that risk. And unless you're going to have a director who is doing a show, like the West Side Story, that requires you to have a certain a genre of people, it's the wrong word, but a certain group of people, so I applaud Lin-Manuel, and I love that even in Hamilton, which is not a white or not a Hispanic or Black story, but he made it for us or for them. And so I applaud him for both of those things. And I just love that a lot of people now are going to be able to see themselves in roles that they never thought they would be able to see themselves.
Yeah. Cheney.
What he said.
I don't.
Yeah, but Cheney, you had to feel some. So, I mean, has Ruby made you sit through movie musicals before?
Yeah.
Because so you like performing, and like we're all performers here. Every movie musical I sit through, Chicago, Hairspray, whatever, I always go, oh, I could play that part, or oh, I'd love to play that part. Like, that'd be the part. And like I have the extreme privilege of, thank you, that was the word I was looking for. I almost said luxury, and it's not a luxury. Privilege of every movie musical that's ever been made, I can find a role for me.
Right.
Without even watching it. I can probably look at the cover of the movie and go, that one.
Mm-hmm.
And what Aubin just said is absolutely true. All of those directors of those movies had the chance. There's nothing in Chicago that says Billy Flynn has to be a Caucasian actor. Billy Flynn could be an amazing African-American actor or a Latino actor, but we got Richard Gere and he was fine as Billy Flynn. When you had why am I blanking on his name? He was in Rent and he's married to Idina Menzel.
Taye Diggs.
Taye Diggs was in that movie right there playing the pit orchestra guy who would have been an amazing Billy Flynn. Yeah, he was in that movie. Crazy. So like there had to be like a sense of like you watching In the Heights going, I could play that role. Or like I could be that role. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it was there. Because representing the Puerto Rican flag and all that stuff. So I thought it was really cool that they did that. And it's just like, I don't know. It felt like, I guess, for lack of a better word, or unless this is the word I'm looking for, proud that I could, of like where I come from and all that stuff. And like, and so that's mainly what I got from it. And I really enjoyed it. I didn't really see like, because obviously I can. And if there's ever like a thing for In the Heights, I'm like, oh, I could play that role because I'm Hispanic, and it's like I'm capable of it. I don't know. There was no role that I was like, oh, I could play that.
Now, here's a question to offshoot that. Let's take the movie musical idea out of it and just look, Cheney, you went to film school, you are an actor, period, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily musical theater, is not your niche per se, but you're an actor. What's your favorite movie in the whole world? Favorite movie you ever seen? Preferably one that has humans and not characters.
Favorite human movie.
Hilarious way to describe it.
I don't know. I'll probably say one of the Spider-Man movies.
Okay,
because I don't really watch like.
So let's take it there because we can have the conversation there also.
Yeah.
When before Miles Morales, before Into the Spider-Verse, did you ever watch a Spider-Man cartoon or a Spider-Man on TV and say, "Wow, I could do that. That could be me"?
Yeah, even watching Peter Parker, I'd be like, yeah, I would love to be Spider-Man. But the thing is, like, I don't know, because I've always like, oh, I would love to be. Before knowing Miles Morales, I was always like, oh, I would love to be Spider-Man, and like, I don't know if I ever thought Peter Parker. Like, I never thought of it that way. Of like, I would love to play Spider-Man, but I'm not. I'm not white like Peter Parker.
And I think I think I've had this in a couple because I get to interact with a whole bunch of different ages, which is nice at CTL. And I think Cheney's right. I think Cheney might have always thought he could do it because Cheney, how old are your parents? Ruby, help him out if you need to.
I think my mom's 42 now, and like my dad's like 30.
I really think, and Albin, I think we might have been the last, not generation, but the last age, that grew up. And not that our parents didn't tell us we could be anything we want, but we really grew up going, oh, I can't do that.
Right.
But there are still things that
That's a good point, Seth.
I think in my personal life or in my professional life, I grew up and I was told by my parents, by my pastor, by older cousins, there were certain things that I could not do. And then society on top of that, I've always been heavier. So I'm ingrained looking at musicals going, I could never play the lead. When a casting gets posted, I don't even look at the first guy, 2 or 3 guys down. And then I go, oh, I can do that. The funny sidekick. And that's still my mentality when I first, the same, when I was watching a movie, when I watch Iron Man, I never go, oh, I could play Iron Man. I always go, I could play Happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes. And I think really the people 10 years before us who were raising kids when we were going into our teenagers really did a great job, because even in the high schoolers nowadays, they're seeing all the wrongs in the world so early that there's a big kind of middle finger to everything and a giant I can do anything I want, which is cool and great. But I think some things are lost, because I think this movie and the musical when it came out in 2009 were a giant world shaker. I mean, they were Heights when it opened had to fight to stay on Broadway. It had to do everything it could. Lin made viral videos. He pulled in. That's why him and Jonathan Groff got so close, because Jonathan Groff was using his power from Spring Awakening and telling people to go back to the show and see the show, and he needed a little white kid to help him, right, which was sad. It's a brilliant musical. I think I still put this musical up against Hamilton any day of the week, and I'd listen to In the Heights.
We'll have that conversation in a second. But and this goes from personal introspection and looking at all of the shows that I've done and ones that I want to do. Even so, for example, at CTL last season, you did Sweeney Todd. I auditioned looking at the cast list saying, there's no one in this cast written for me. So which part can I audition for where I have a chance that someone might say, you know what, he could do that? And for example, if I were to go audition for Phantom of the Opera, now it's Phantom, right? But in the movie, the Phantom is a white guy
who can't really sing.
Well, that's a whole other story. And we've seen Ramin Karimloo, who is not white. He played, Phantom. But until then, are you ready for a Phantom that is not white? When I think of Phantom,
I saw him. I saw Norm Lewis.
I'm sure he was phenomenal.
He forgot the words.
He's
almost wanted my money back.
He's been in so many shows. He's got them all.
They were all just
he's ready to sing Agwe at a moment's notice. So he's
anytime. Well, like we were very excited because, and this is how sad it was. I was in college, and that show's been running for 2 decades, and it's taken that long for the first non-white Phantom.
Yeah.
When was the first non-white Christine?
Oh wow!
Like
did Audra what's her last name? Did she play Christine ever? Yeah,
I don't think so.
I'm gonna look at her discography.
Her she'd be great. I love me some Audra.
I was just gonna mention a show, but I just now I'm thinking it's been done. What was it?
Well, so here's an example, and this goes off of the point you made earlier. We're producing Ragtime this coming season.
Mm-hmm.
We were looking at a different title before that, not for that slot, but just for the season. And I guess I can talk about that. I was looking at Parade, which is a Jason Robert Brown show about 50 years after the end of the Civil War, basically. And it's about a whole other thing, but that's the time period. And quite frankly, it had to come off the list because all of the men needed had to be, like, if we're being truthful to the story, and this is as a producer where I get into like a mind debate, if you're being truthful to the story and the historical accuracies, all of those roles, the governor, the judge, the cops, are all Caucasian. And there are roles specifically written for diverse characters, but they're stereotypical not slaves, but servants and house guests. Mm-hmm. And for me, how does as an organization CTL produce something where, and actually Aubin, I thought of you because I went, let's say I can't cast this show. How do I call Aubin and say, hey, Aubin, I need you to audition for this show? But literally the only roles you can do are servant roles. Like, that's absolutely asinine. And so I was like, we can't do that. Like, I'd much rather produce something where Ragtime, where I feel like the three main stories in that show all get equal stage time and all are community driven from different races. Right. So, yeah.
Audra McDonald did not play Christine, but I'm just trying to figure out who was and if there was. There has to be. I would be
the first
non-white Christine in Phantom of the Opera.
Cheney, you talk while we search.
I will not.
I don't know that there.
I don't think there ever has been.
There has been. Was there a black Christine in Phantom of the Opera? Lucy St. Louis. Okay, there has been. But I don't think on Broadway. Oh, no. Not true. Allie Ewoldt. Do you know that name?
I'm looking.
It was 2016. She was the first non-white.
Oh, there she is.
But she's also not white. She is Asian American.
Yeah, she's Asian American. Filipino mother and a Caucasian father.
So even there, okay, let me see. First black performer to play the role of Christine in the West End or on Broadway. So Lucy St. Louis was the first black performer to play the role of Christine. And that was, let's see.
And she's not even listed on the, not that we go by Wikipedia, but
she's not. And neither is Lucy St. Louis. Well, Lucy St. Louis is not on there.
No.
I did see
Allie is.
Allie is.
Yeah, Lucy St. Louis is not listed.
And this article is from this year. Broadway.com. Lucy St. Louis and Reese Whitfield joined Killian Donnelly in London Return of the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
So it's not even on Broadway. It's in the West End.
My wife is calling.
Okay.
Hello, wife. Hello. Hey, I am filming AfroLatinos right now. Can I call you back? Hello. Oh,
Hi, Marissa.
I don't get good service. Let me text her.
And actually, so you saw Norm Lewis as
I saw Norm and Sierra Boggess.
So Norm Lewis in 2014 was the first Black actor to play Phantom.
Yeah, and that's honestly, we got our tickets because we knew it was going to be like him, and he was the first one, and it's this big deal, blah, 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 blah. And he was amazing. He's an amazing performer. He forgot the words to Music of the Night, which is the Phantom's biggest song. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm over it. I'm completely done.
I can clearly see that. I saw Ramin in
he's amazing.
I saw him in Les Mis on Broadway.
He's amazing.
But it does bring an interesting discussion of, you know, how long have some of these shows you would have thought that at some point in the history of Phantom that before 2014 there has been a Black Phantom, or before Allie there was a first non-white Phantom or non-white Christine. Like, how has it gone this long? But I think that it's one of two things. One, they are simply not being cast, or two, the actors themselves are too afraid to try it. Because I would feel too afraid to try it, to say that just the audience simply would not be ready or prepared for that conversation.
Well, and from a producer standpoint, I can't, and I'm trying really hard, I can't name a performer of Norm Lewis's caliber that's older than Norm Lewis. So if I have this really expensive musical that I need to keep running, I'm going to just keep plugging in big names and keep it running. And Norm Lewis is a big name that I can buy 3 months off of in ticket sales. So it makes sense from that standpoint of that there's never been one, because there's never been an actor of that race that large to sell tickets, which is the whole of that's on top of the just the molecular problem of the show. That's a industry problem then of
absolutely
how oppressive have we been to every other race other than Caucasians for so long that it's taken. How long has Broadway been a thing? Almost over 100 years of producing shows with just white people.
And I was gonna even say that from an actor's perspective, even if I were to go, and this is the reason I didn't bring it up earlier was because it's happened and I realized that it happened. But I was thinking newer musicals that have come out, you know, Dear Evan Hansen before now his name escapes me, Jordan Fisher. You know, Dear Evan Hansen was Ben Platt. You know, that's no offense to Ben Platt, you're phenomenal, but that's about as white can get.
He gives me for a run for his money.
Now, why does his name keep disappearing in my head? Jordan Fisher is phenomenal. He's great. Yeah. It makes sense that you put him in that role. But I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that casting room and say, like, was that a topic of conversation? Is the audience ready to see a non-Ben Platt play Dear Evan Hansen?
Yeah. And I think they are. Like, I feel like Dear Evan Hansen's a whole other conversation onto itself with the father producer, and I think Ben's very talented. I don't personally like Ben Platt. I know that's like how to make theater people angry 101 is like say you don't like Ben Platt, but I think the guy sings with his eyes closed way too much. And so it just like I don't know. I just don't like his voice. However, I get that he originated the role. He gets to do it on film.
But there's so many people who've come after him that it doesn't make any sense. But that's a conversation.
Especially the CGI face and all that nonsense.
Oh my God. Really? Like, come on. I mean, the guy that we saw, because we saw it on Broadway a couple years ago, and we saw the understudy. We did not even see. Okay. It was not Ben Platt. He was well off the role by that point. But whomever the person was supposed to be playing Evan, we saw his understudy, and he was interesting.
Yeah.
He was really trying to push that waving through the window. I think he was trying to break the glass every time he was trying to say it, because he was really pushing to get it out. But even anyone who was currently playing the role of Heaven Hansen could have easily stepped in, because they probably all look younger than Ben Platt, because he's not old, but
Yeah.
maybe too old to be playing a high schooler.
Yeah. So here's my next question. So we were talking about the colorism and specifically Anthony being of the wrong nationality and playing a Dominican. Let's go like down a couple like steps, like Broadway or regional or community theaters. How offensive is that? I mean, I get that it's wrong to do if you can't do that, but does that mean like I don't know. I don't even know how to phrase the question. Vermont theaters, are they stuck just doing? And I'm not talking about like the cringy white in the Heights that you see on TikTok, because that's just I'm offended by that as a theater creator.
I want to know who that director was and why they stopped caring.
It's awful
because you know what's really bad? All of those parents showed so much love to that.
They really did.
Those parents, after that performance, thought it was the best thing they've ever seen, because they've never listened to the actual production. They don't know what it was supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
It's not even just the actors that were so offensive, even though it was,
borderline.
Simple, everything was just horrendous. The orchestration was so bad that it hurt.
There wasn't a good thing you could pull out.
I just wanted them to stop playing and just buy the canned music, because again, you're not, more than likely, especially in a high school theater production, which I'm sure that was, you are more than likely you're going to be able to find a percussionist who can play great music. But are they going to be able to replicate the sounds of a Latino drummer? The congos, the bongo, all of those sounds, the guira, all of those instruments that are ingrained in the culture of the Hispanic community, are they going to do that? And if not, please do not do it. Just get the canned music. It's going to sound exactly like it needs to. Better. And they won't be able to mess it up. Well, yes, they can, but they have the experience of messing it up because it's all already there for you.
Yeah.
But I think that it is.
And I don't know what my question is, rather than just a talking discussion of, is there eventually going to be a list? And I don't think there is, and I don't think it's ever going to get to that, because I think each theater is going to be determined by their community and their community makeup. But I mean, Williamsport is predominantly Caucasian. Lycoming County is predominantly Caucasian. So does that mean our season needs to look predominantly Caucasian? Or are there shows that we can take risks on? And are there not even risks? Are there shows that we can open up opportunities for and produce? We got into Aubin, you bailed us out because we got into a bind with Driving Miss Daisy, because we were bound and determined to produce. It's a great work. It's a great title. We wanted that story to be told. We felt like it was an important story at the time. And we didn't have an actor. So yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that.
I've ever been. I was very nervous for that show.
And you crushed it.
And Sandy and Travis were like off book by the time that I had joined. And so I'm like, but
and then you had to play it.
I think that the last 2 seasons at CTL have proven that it can be done, because there were shows that were risks. I mean, in reality, Driving Miss Daisy in Williamsport is a risk. West Side Story in Williamsport is a risk. To Kill a Mockingbird in Williamsport is a risk. Because there are certain roles that are written for certain people, and I think it is less offensive for Anthony Ramos, who is a Puerto Rican male, to be playing a Dominican male than it would be for Jim Rothermel from down the street in Williamsport coming in and trying to play that role.
Well, I think that's my question. if it's an SAT comparison of Anthony Ramos playing Usnavi to I'm a Swedish descent playing an English guy, 2 different countries, 2 different continents. Are those comparable?
Here's what I think. I think there are 2 spheres of people who will react to that. One who will say there is absolutely no reason you could not find a Dominican actor to play a Dominican role.
Yep.
Or, for example, there's no reason why you could not have found an Englishman to have played this English character. You picked Swede because that was your choice. There's no excuse for that. But then there's another realm of thought that says you kept it in the community, or these countries maybe have related so much and are so similar that, or these cultures are so similar, like Ireland and in England, right? They're 2 countries that are very similar. They're still in the same under the United Kingdom mantra, but they're very different culturally. They're close enough that I don't think it would cause so much offense as if it was like I don't know, someone from Japan who was playing an Irishman, because then you get into a lot of stereotypical accents and things that you think, or from their experience with this type of person, I have to do XYZ when really it's not necessary. We just want you to put on the show. So I think that there are two. Nobody's ever going to be happy.
No.
You're never going to appease everyone, and so it's at the director's discretion to really say, what line am I willing to cross, and do I really think that is okay? I think that there are some that could. Even in West Side Story, I was nervous to be in West Side Story because I was like, where are we going to find all the Hispanic casting to be able to give the Sharks what they need? But I am less offended by a person of color playing a Hispanic person than I am of a non-Hispanic person playing, or a non-person of color playing that role.
Well,
and some that will disagree heavily, but I just think it depends.
I was a big advocate for, even in the production meetings leading up to West Side Story casting, that there's nothing that says Tony and some of the Jets aren't African American. That there's a very strong line written into that show that the Sharks are Puerto Rican. Like, that's the problem. Like, it's not just a skin tone thing. It's a very deliberate, you're from this island and you're immigrating into our land.
Yes.
So I still am a big advocate that I think that's a really strong story to see, even if it might not be Tony, because maybe you want that, because he does have some lines referring to not Ireland but Irish, and there's some jokes involving that. But I think there's a really strong story, even Doc, that if Doc is an African American, I think that's a whole different story, and I think that's really interesting to look at.
Definitely a very interesting casting choice that would be made, and it would definitely change it. Just like with In the Heights, it's so interesting how one change like that can change an entire dynamic. And I think that in The Heights, it changed the entire dynamic for those characters, but in a negative way. So I think if you're going to be taking that risk, you have to be ready for the repercussions.
Well, and what your answer made it sound like was, it all comes down to respect.
Absolutely.
It all comes down to, as a production, are you respecting the character and everything that character represents for everyone? Because it's going to represent to Cheney differently, to you differently, to me, and is everyone going to look at that character and not take away just a stereotype, but rather see a full fleshed out, respectable character? And that's what it sounds like.
I think that's all that it boils down to at the end of the day, is, are you respecting are you respecting the director or the writer and what their intent was? Are you trying to, and we have to be also careful, and this is tough in the theater world, especially because each director is going to interpret something differently. But the writer wrote it the way they did for a reason. Not necessarily casted it for a reason, but for West Side Story, they wrote it so that the Puerto Rican storyline was a point of tension in the story. So your casting decisions as a director have to reflect the writer's intention, and that you're not trying to change the story, and you're not trying to put your own thoughts and your own opinions about this into something that is not your work to do. Absolutely. It's like when people don't read the requirements for like MTI, for if you're renting a show from MTI and getting those rights. Like it tells you, depending on the show, you are not allowed to change this, and this, but they just ignore it and try and do it anyway.
Well, and it's not funny. I always find it enlightening, especially because I know they talk to the writer. In those contracts, they're specifically, you can't change the race of this character. So Seth's is almost always listed for all the characters, but then there's some characters, Morales in a chorus line has to be a person of color, or else her story doesn't make sense. So it's always, and then there's others that they don't write, and you kind of think that that's an odd choice, but
right, yeah. And it's like in Once on This Island, which will forever be one of my favorite musicals, and I hope to God one day I can play that show again. That show, the traditional storyline of that show is written for a racial tension between the cast. You have the white aristocratic people, and then the dark-skinned Timoon, you have the black story happening. And so there's that intentional tension written into that production.
Yeah.
But in the licensing of that show, it gives you the ability to change if you do not have the cast to do a white show or a white versus person of color show. It can be written as class, right? You can show this as rich versus poor, and then you can do pretty much whatever you want from that standpoint. And there are changes that can be made. But again, the writer knew that was going to take place and allowed for it to happen, because at the end of the day, you're not changing a ton of the story. The integrity stays relatively intact. And so, but it depends. It depends on the show.
Well, I think that shows a great example of the storyline. And it's just what you said. The storyline is not dependent if you make those allowable changes. The story is such a strong story, regardless of that tension,
right? That
it's suitable. I've always made the argument that The Wiz feels the same way. That the story of Wizard of Oz and the telling within The Wiz isn't dependent on the race of the characters as much as Ragtime or Dreamgirls or something like that.
Although that one's an interesting one, because you do have, especially if I'm remembering, not Scarecrow, Tin Man specifically has a lot of dialogue
that's written,
very, very African American vernacular English. It's very, very. It's like in Airplane, he's speaking jive. Do you speak jive?
Yeah. So you have this almost like booby trap of the authors going, you can cast whoever you want, and then you read it and you go, oh no, I can't, because that delivered wrong is offensive to everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just audiences of African Americans, but everyone. And you also have a movie that's so beloved, especially by the African American society, and it's so well known by everyone with African Americans in the roles, that it becomes this thing of, this is what you're used to. These are the people I have, but we want to tell the story because we feel like it needs to be told.
I mean, even the shortening of the name is not, even calling the Wiz as opposed to the Wizard is inherently non, so it's a very interesting show to cast, because you do have to be cognizant of the fact that there's going to be some things in here that you got to be careful.
Well, and that's always. I know in the last couple of seasons we've made the conscious effort, at least at CTL, to colorblind was the buzzword for a while, and about the last 5 years, it's really just been like overused, used incorrectly, and just kind of like a blanket excuse.
And actually, there's a very problematic thought process that goes into colorblind casting.
Yeah, because we want to see everyone.
We don't want you to be blind to the fact that I am black. I want you to cast me because of my talent, not because of I want you to see me and say, okay, yes, he is black, but he also has the abilities, the talents to do this role. So it's colorblind, but that term is inherently problematic.
Yeah.
So it's
color conscience is what we've been using, mainly because I think we're talking about the same article. Depending on the storyline, there are some stories that are still being produced that we're kind of weaning away from, but that are dependent on the race of the actor or the race of the actress to tell the story correctly. But really, we're looking for new works or even newer age works where everything is open and it's kind of a free ball game throughout.
It's always like if you think of like Aida, like how many times has Aida been done with the cast that represents the culture of the? I mean, Aida is set in Egypt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, last time I checked, Egypt was in Africa, so you're going to get one of two predominantly groups of people. You are going to get Middle Eastern complexion, or you are going to get not sub-Saharan, but you're going to get Saharan African complexion. And how many times has that show been done casted with people who would be from that region? You know what I mean? So
and again, I think that even is a more casting it correctly makes it a more interesting story.
Oh, absolutely. Because it's going to be real to those people.
Yeah.
Whoever that culture is, that is their story. It's their family. It's their bloodline. And it's going to mean more to them as a performer. And it's not just words on a page. And you know, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Kenny, how you doing over there? You surviving?
I'm hanging in there.
Taking it all in?
Yep.
My computer's going to die in 4 minutes, Shani, so don't worry.
We can wrap up. We've talked about a lot and probably went farther than even I thought I did. So with the last 4 minutes that we have, really quick, Hamilton or In the Heights, what is your pick? Penny, we'll start with you since you haven't said much.
Hold on.
So,
movie or soundtrack or
overall?
Overall, okay.
In the Heights or Hamilton? Cheney, rewatchability for you. What is the more palatable show for you?
I would say Hamilton right now because I don't know In the Heights that well. But I think eventually, if I keep like watching and listening to In the Heights, I would probably say In the Heights just because it would probably mean more to me than what Hamilton does.
Seth?
Hamilton or In the Heights.
I agree. I think there's the music. Not that I don't appreciate hip hop, which is main. I mean, and it's In the Heights is still hip hop because Lin-Manuel, that's what he does. But it's hip hop plus reggaeton. Latin.
There's a lot of Caribbean stuff in this. I was like,
that style of music is much more interesting to me than Hamilton's music was to me.
I think, and this is not to. I think Hamilton's genius. I think they deserved every recognition they got.
Sure.
Blanket statement, great. I think In the Heights is a much better representation of all of those music genres infused with classical musical theater.
So I agree. So Cheney, what you should do, and you probably won't, but what you should do anyway, is listen to the full soundtrack of In the Heights rather than watching the movie. Because in Hamilton, in the production you see on Disney Plus, you get the whole soundtrack. You're not missing anything. You're not missing anything from the story. You're not missing anything at all. But because there were so many cuts and edits to In the Heights, the movie versus the soundtrack, to really understand why In the Heights is so different and why most of the conversation that we had is so different, you have to take it in its entirety from start to finish.
It
It's
really
a
is genius.
It is a really long soundtrack. There's a lot of songs, but it is incredibly encapsulating.
You're
So
right,
that's-
Alvin. I probably won't, but I'll try though.
If you have a long drive, I recommend Broadway Backstory.
Oh, I've listened to that podcast
Well,
before.
I think
His computer must have just died, or his
it just died.
Broadway Backstory. They have talked. I think Broadway Backstory has done a podcast on In the Heights and on Hamilton. I'm gonna text him the link to this so he can join on his phone quick.
He's out.
He just texted me. He said, Broadway Backstory podcast. That's what I was plugging. The In the Heights episode is fantastic. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can get him back on real quick.
Didn't he join from his phone already? So that means he should have it.
I think he had switched from probably maybe a desktop to a laptop. Is that? Oh, that's his old one.
Yeah, first.
All right, but just in case he's not able to come back and join, Seth was plugging the In the Heights episode of Broadway Backstory. I did listen to it. It's actually incredible. So if you don't have time for that, Cheney, you don't have time to listen to the soundtrack, at least listen to that. It'll talk about a lot of stuff. It's really good.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
You know what? On the ride home on Friday,
No. The
whole time, the whole ride. I'm gonna make it extra long too. I'm gonna take a wrong.
I'm gonna take aux and we're gonna play some BTS. We'll be all right.
Wrong turn somewhere, and then we're gonna end up being stuck in the middle of nowhere. All right, so this has been another episode of AfroLatinos. Great conversation. Thank you so much to Seth Sponhouse for joining us. Although his computer died and he wasn't able to stay, we appreciate him for joining us.
For him for joining us.
You know, I've just been talking a lot. My tongue is tired. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Reminder that we will see you only one more time. Actually, by the time that this episode airs, you will not see us for a week. We are off next week, and then come back the week after. So we will see you all in 2 weeks. This has been your co-host, Aubin.
And your co-host, Chandler.
Peace out.